Okay, so this is my second video. In this video, we're going to be looking at some of the other blogs I did in my 10 blog assignment. The last video, I covered 5 of them, so I'm also going to try to finish and cover the rest of them that are on this assignment. So we're going to look at this first one. I'm going to highlight the URL right here. Hold on. This one is titled Fall Bass Fishing Shay's Fall Favorites. This is a local angler who's out of I believe Mystic, Connecticut, and he does a lot of fishing in some of the lakes in western Connecticut and also downstate New York. So let's put him in. He's got a blog on this website called angler.com. It's his website, and here he just posts daily articles about some of his favorite baits to throw at certain types of the year, under certain conditions. All kinds of variables play a role in what he chooses to fish with. But this blog is just a general written article about what he likes to throw in the fall. He talks about size of certain baits, the color, and the color that you want to use for the clarity of the water. He also talks about ideal locations to be throwing these types of lures, the fish that he targets. I like this blog because it's a local angler, and I've actually learned a lot of techniques and also some pretty important information off local anglers, because they're fishing essentially the same patterns that you're fishing on any given day if you choose to go out fishing when they go fishing, and you can really learn a lot from each other. I've learned a lot from people like Shay, and he is just an awesome dude. I really like reading his post. I follow him on pretty much a weekly basis, and he's also a local tournament angler too, so I always get to see how he's doing in his tournaments. So that is his website, Angler. Now let's go back to my 10 blogs and let's go look at the next one. This one is also about fishing, top picks for late summer bass. That's the title of this blog. I don't believe that this is the same guy. I think this is a different angler. I'm not really too familiar with this person, but his blog looks interesting, so I figured we'd take a look at it. He's on Lornet.com, also his website. Okay, this guy is Dustin Elder. Now this is all coming back to me. It's been quite a bit of time since I looked at this blog, but this guy, he wrote this blog in August, and I was really enjoying it because he is very, very good at fishing one of the hardest times of the year. I follow this individual now on Instagram, and I've seen some of the fish that he catches during the later months of the summer, and that's considered to be one of the more tricky times to find fish, just because of how warm the water is, and that makes some of the fishing very, very slow. Fish get sluggish, they don't really want to move. So he goes through in pretty good, vivid detail about some of his personal favorites for the time of the day, the temperature of the water, the conditions that he's fishing. Once again, very similar to the last blog, just a different individual, and it's also a different time of the year. So I'm not going to really go into too much more detail about it. I pretty much summed everything up. You know, he's got buzzbait, finesse worm, yum ribbontail. These are just a few of his favorite baits to be throwing for this time of the year. Not going to go much more into it. We've seen that. Let's go back to the blogs. Okay, wrote about this. We talked about this already. I've already talked about this. Okay, let's look at this one. This is kind of more of a personal want or future potential want, but I am into keeping animals, and this is an animal that I've kind of fantasized about having. I mean, I could easily care for a soft-shell turtle if I wanted to go out and buy a soft-shell turtle. Would I realistically at the moment? Probably not. Is it possible that I would like to own this animal as a pet in the future? Of course, and this website called Reptiles would definitely give me some good pointers on what to do in order to care for one of these. I actually make daily trips down to Florida. We go to Orlando in Central Florida each winter, just like most of the other snowbirds, and we stay in this resort in Disney, and they have literally hundreds of these turtles, just like the one pictured here in this image, and they are huge, and they just swim through the water really, really fast. It's almost like the freshwater equivalent of a sea turtle, and this website just gives you general care of what to do in order to keep one successfully, nutritional needs, tanks, enclosures, caring for males and females. There's a lot of information in here. Growth information, all important stuff, and everything you would need to know about owning one of these animals. Definitely a very interesting pet that I would love to own. I've owned bearded dragons, I own fish, we've got 5 dogs, 3 cats, I got a bunny. This is definitely a reptile that would be on my bucket list for, I don't know, at some point down the road. Not saying within the next year or so, but at some point when I get time and maybe want to pick one of those cool little guys up, that would be cool. So that's that. Let's go back to my blogs. We looked at the foliage tracker. We looked at hosting owls in your backyard, stink bug invasion. Okay, let's look at this one. Let's go ice fishing. So as an avid fisherman, believe it or not, I actually really am not a big fan of ice fishing. I've never really had anybody to go ice fishing with, which is probably why I never really had interest in it as a kid. But ice fishing is something I would really like to get into more in the future. I'm not really fanatic about just sitting and waiting in the cold on ice all day, but if you go out with people that know how to ice fish and you fish productive lakes, you can catch a lot of fish, believe it or not. And that's better than just sitting inside during the dead of winter and doing absolutely nothing. Definitely a fun activity, and I see hundreds of local ice fishermen out on the reservoirs all around where I live. I've got 17 controlled bodies of water. They're all New York City reservoirs, and basically the entire county of Westchester. I can literally travel to 7, 8 of them within 30 minutes of my house, and each one is heavily fished during the winter. Tons of ice fishermen, but this blog talks about, as a beginner, which I would consider myself, I've gone twice before, and that was within the span of about 4 or 5 years. So it's been a while since I've last been out ice fishing. But this is a website that just gives anybody that's brand new to the sport, basic needs, basic how-to tutorials. This is a how-to tutorial right here on how to build a sled, which is something that is definitely mandatory when ice fishing. Ice fishermen always pull a sled, and they keep in their sled things like their auger, which is the tool that they use to cut the holes in the ice with. They keep their tackle, they keep their fishing rods, they keep their bait. They keep all kinds of stuff in their sled. And this is a tutorial on actually how to build one, which I thought was pretty cool. You can go out and buy one, but I guess if you're really into that type of stuff and you like to build your own things, that would be a great little fun tutorial. But this is also just a general overview of, it's basically saying why you should ice fish and why you should be out doing this in the winter instead of doing other things. I read this and I was pretty into it, and I'm trying to make arrangements for this upcoming winter if we do get safe ice. Also, there is an article in here somewhere about watching out for ice and knowing how to go out onto the ice. I think it's in this video right here. We're not going to play it, but they talk about the importance of making sure you know the ice is safe, because that's always been a fear of mine, falling through. And a lot of people that fall through actually perish. It's extremely dangerous, and you have to know how thick the ice is so you can judge, is it safe to go out on? And most people that ice fish, I would say majority of them, are smart and they know how to make sure the ice is safe, or else they wouldn't be out on the ice. And you could definitely tell just by looking at it whether it is safe or not safe, and you need a pretty cold winter where we live to get safe fishable ice, and I haven't seen that actually really in the past year or so. Last year was a pretty tough year. I only saw a handful of people out, and even they were on unsafe ice, and I was like, those guys are absolutely crazy. So I really hope nothing bad happened to them. But this is a really great website. There's a lot of information in here about getting into it if you're a beginner and really don't know anything about it, which is essentially me still. But that's going to sum it up for today's video. These are all my blogs. We've covered all 10 of them. We covered 5 in the last. I believe we got the remaining 5 in here, unless I missed one. Just going to scroll through. Take a look. Yeah, that looks like it. Covered all the information here. That's going to wrap up the end of my second video